Okay, GBA, we are live. We are recording. Phone lines are open. You are good to go.
Hey, thank you, Matt, and welcome to the Town of East Hampton Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for August 2nd, 2022. We have three canceled public hearings this evening, one being Jordan Daniel of 22 Abraham's Path, East Hampton, Suffolk, tax map number 300-120-03-09. The second public hearing is Harry Drucker at 298 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-189-6-11.5. The third canceled public hearing this evening is Miller Brothers Hospitality LLC at 28 Maidstone Park Road in Spring, Suffolk tax map number 300-38-4-22.1. So we have one scheduled public hearing for this evening, and I'll read that into the record. Applicant is Kristen and David Boncher and Bank, 40 Flaggy Hole Road in East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-38-8-3.2. The size and location is 12,000 square feet at 40 Flaggy Hole Road, East Hampton. And the description is to allow an approximately 780 square foot pool patio to remain within side yard setbacks. This is a modification of the zoning board determination filed July 13, 2016, which allowed the construction of an 820 square foot swimming pool with rear lot line setbacks. The relief sought is one variance of 5 foot from 255-1110 of the town code is required to allow an existing pool patio to remain 15 foot from the rear yard lot line where 20-foot setback is required. The zoning district is A residence, Zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Tyler, if you want to pull up.
You want to hear if we have a affidavit of service and posting?
Do we have proper affidavit of service and posting?
We do. We have an affidavit of service and posting that reflects that both the mailing and the posting were done on the 22nd of July, 2022, and the paperwork appears to be in order. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so I visited the site. It was properly posted. This is a photo of the house with that for the applicant. We're going to go into the backyard. This is a photo of the back of the house as it looks over the pool. Some of the photos I hear, this yard is very, very well screened, and this is the patio at which that is in question on the encroachment. Here you see I'm standing from the back of the patio overlooking this whole section of where the umbrella and the table is part of the deck that is in question this evening. And again, you can see the screening that's around the property. I think that's it, Tyler, right? Pretty simple. Council? David?
Good evening, Chairman, members of the board. David Kirst, Matthews, Kirsten Cooley, 241 Panago Road, East Hampton, New York. On behalf of Kirsten and David Boncher, I've got a couple extra pictures in case the board would like them.
Stand for them.
As Chairman Clean said, there is quite sufficient screening to the rear of this property. The screening was actually required as part of the pool variance that was granted previously to allow the pool at 15 feet. When the pool was built, they built the patio at the same setback as the pool, even though no patio had been included with the pool application. So there is, I know the notice says, I believe 780 square feet, but the amount of the patio that actually requires a variance is approximately 51 square feet. It's very small. The pictures that were shown, it's literally the one lounge chair and the umbrella. It doesn't extend any closer to the neighbor than the pool does, and it's actually at, I believe, 15.6 feet from the rear property line. And that's the relief that we're requesting. It's been that way for a number of years with no complaint from neighbors. And the screening is mature and adequate. If anybody has any questions, I'd be.
Anybody have any questions?
I don't.
I don't have any questions.
I don't either.
No. Tyler?
Tyler Borsak for the planning department.
Tyler, do you swear affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, or nothing but the truth?
I do. I don't have anything else to add to this. It's very straightforward. I'll just make myself available for questions.
No questions? Anybody questions? This
I
must
have
go
no
down as the
questions.
quickest hearing on record. Yeah.
You win.
Do you have any closing statements? All right, thank you. With that, is there anybody Matt, is there any callers in there?
0 callers, thank you.
Council, the question is coming up. Could we even make a decision on this right now?
At the work session or?
We have to close the record in the hearing.
You have to close the record in the hearing, and if you close it up tonight, I mean, I don't know anything in the code that prohibits you from doing so.
We've done that on rare.
We have.
We know we have
really
done this
rare
in the
occasions to do
past.
it in the
Yeah.
past.
Till COVID
It's been a
process
while.
started and stuff.
Council?
No objection whatsoever. Just would like to. I appreciate it. I know it's been, you guys are behind a lot of.
We have a truncated
with a
hearing
short
tonight, and if
schedule.
this is something we can get off the thing,
I
I
have no
think,
objection to that, and I'm not aware of anything in the code that would prohibit it unless you had, an open record, which you will not if you close it now, or if you had an objection from the applicants.
I know in my tenure, we have done this a couple of times.
Yes,
One
we
example is the VFW, the statue, the steel statue of the 911 exhibit.
Yes.
We moved, there was a couple of others that we did that.
The board is satisfied that it's reviewed the record completely, and there was no additional, as you've heard on the record now, points from the planning department or from Mr. Kirst. I'd say you're free to go if you like.
Okay, thank you.
I'd close the record
I
first.
have to
though.
do that, that's correct. Therefore, I make a motion to close the hearing and the public record for Kristen and David Boncher at N Bank at 40 Flaggy Hollow Road in East Hampton, Suffolk tax map number 300-38-8-3.2.
Second it. I concur.
I concur.
Okay, at this point, I think we can go into discussion on the same.
No, this is our work session.
Excuse me?
No, sorry, this is our work session.
This is not your work session? Yeah.
Being that, I mean, this is a minimal requirement or a variance request. The pool was granted back in 2016 to be 15 foot from the property line. It's actually 15 and a half feet from the property line. The owner squared off the patio. I think my gut is that if this came to us with the patio at the time, it would have been approved. I think it's a minimal request, and therefore I would support approving this application.
Yeah, I don't have anything much to add. I think along the lines of what was stated by the chair, I'm willing to approve this application.
I agree with my fellow board members. It is a very minimal variance request, and I would approve it as well.
Yes, and I too agree with my fellow board members, and council brought in the photos that shows the vegetation and the screening and everything, and this would be more of an issue to not allow it than to allow it.
Right.
So I too am in favor of approving the variance.
Thank you. Council, you good?
We're good.
right, David, thank you.
I'm trying to get that to you quick, David. You're welcome. Have a good night.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go in now into the post-hearing decisions. I'll read the first one into the record, and it's Jacqueline Zarodkiewicz, or Mosca is the hyphen name, at 46 Soundview Drive in Montauk, Suffolk, tax map number 300-5-1-6. The size and location is 19,821.19 square feet of 46 Soundview Drive, Soundview Estates, map number 1929 in Montauk. The description is to construct a 438 square foot deck, 49 square foot hot tub, 30 square foot outdoor shower, and roughly 88 linear feet of fencing on a parcel of land containing a dune, beach vegetation, and tidal wetlands. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420, and 8 variances are required. 4 variances from 255-430, wetland setbacks of 29 feet, 22.8 feet, 7.9 feet, and 18.4 feet to allow the deck, 71-foot hot tub, 77.2 feet, outdoor shower, 92.1 feet, and fence, 81.6 feet from wetlands where 100-foot is required. 4 variances from 255-440, dune crest setbacks of 36.3 feet, 27.8 feet, 12.8 feet, and 26.8 feet to allow the deck, 38.7 feet, hot tub, 47.2 feet, outdoor shower, 62.2 feet, and fence, 48.2 feet from the dune crest where 75 foot is required, and any other relief necessary from East Hampton Town Code. The zoning district is B residence, Zone X flood zone, the end VE 12 flood zone, and the secret class is type 2.
This
Whose
was
was
mine.
this?
This
This
was
is
mine.
Terry's?
Yeah. Okay, this is Mosca Zarodkiewicz, Mosca, in parentheses, Jacqueline, 46 Soundview Drive. The hearing date on this was June 7th of '22, and this requires an NRSP and the several variances that the chair listed in the introduction. The survey that we went is used by James Walsh, survey dated 10/29/2021. The agent for this applicant was Elizabeth Baldwin. And this, it sounds like a lot of variances, and there is an NRSP for and dune crest variances. I'm having trouble saying that. And the story on this is the applicants have owned the house since like 2002, and there was a deck on the northern side of the property between the house and the dune crest and the shore. It was one that was in disrepair that these applicants about 2 years ago or so decided they would replace in kind. However, in this location for dune crest variance, you can't just replace in kind, you must reappear for the variances again if they had them previously. What's unique about this particular property is that there's a bulkhead on the property and some rock revetment, which many of the houses along Soundview Drive have. That is actually the dune crest is landward of this particular bulkhead. On the aerials, so the applicant is looking to replace that deck that they removed. I don't know if you recall in the photos, they had like a indoor-outdoor green rug where the deck had been, and they want to recreate that and then bring it across where there are some stairs now, and bring it to it from the west side of the house where the original decking was, and bring it all the way across the east. And then on the east side, they want to place a hot tub and an outdoor shower, which will both be proposed to be placed on top of the deck. So all of this, they're doing this, they're retiring, I guess, and they want to, I think they're eliminating the steps that now go down the back. But so the variances they're not incredibly small, but they're not unusually large, and they're really not expanding very much on this property at all. I have the numbers on the decking. It was 362 square feet wood deck, and that they wanted to reconfigure and square it off. There was a notch that was kind of no use in the current decking that they had removed. And if you recall the photos, they did do a very nice job of maintaining the beach vegetation on this property that was not mandated by anyone. They just took care of it on their own. I am looking to approve this project, and I think also with the NRSP, there was no other reasonable location to put the deck there. It's been there since the 60s. And we had 3 letters of support from neighbors. Written somewhere too. From the house across the street, remember the pink house? The owner of that, Mr. Beard, and from the neighbors on either side, on to the east and the west, all approving of the project. There was a question about whether they needed a double setback for the hot tub and the shower that was proposed. And the agent, Elizabeth Baldwin, met with Ann Glennon, and the building inspector said since it was pre-existing, there was a pre-existing deck, and on the east side of the property is where the hot tub and shower is proposed, that it would not require the double setback. But actually, if you look at the survey, on the east side, it actually meets the 20-foot setback there. It's just as the deck goes east that it would have needed a little more. So again, they're putting this in the best location possible. There are really no other alternative locations on this property for this. There's also a fence that runs from Soundview Drive, rather, from the south to the north. And it's just a linear fence, I think, to delineate the property line. It doesn't go anywhere. It does not impede wildlife. It does not go all the way down toward the water. So I think this application it's a good application. I think the owners, you can see from the property, do take care of the property. And this is also maybe one of the last houses remaining on Soundview Drive that have not been totally redeveloped into much larger homes. And also, you can note on the aerial that was shown at the hearing that this house is no closer to the dune crest or the water than any of the houses on either side of it. And to the east of it are there's very few residences left to the east, but a lot of the co-ops and condos and resort motels on Soundview Drive. I think this is a good application, and I am looking to approve it. And I think in terms of the NRSP, they've been good stewards of the environment. They take care of it as far as the beach vegetation, and this application.
Thank you. Denise?
I agree with Member Berger. There's really no detriment to the community. This is a modest addition to an already existing deck. The deck has been on the property since the late 60s with no damage to dune crest or wetland. They're really just basically squaring off an existing deck by adding 2 small amenities, the shower and the hot tub. It's no closer to wetlands and dune crest than what already exists. So for these reasons, I am approving the natural resource special permit, and the variances requested in the application's entirety.
Thank you.
Yes, I don't have a lot to add because I think it's been covered by the previous 2 board members. But I will say that the house it was built in 1969. It's been there, therefore, for over 50 years. I think the point that the owners seem to be very good stewards of the land, that when you visit the site, you see that it has not been trod upon in ways in which we would look negatively upon. It's not a site that makes you think that people are not showing the kind of respect that we try to get our applicants to show for their property. I think the fact that Ann Glennon was willing to not commit to asking for double setbacks for the hot tub and the shower stall was a factor in my decision here, that it was not something that we were going to contest. And I think that in terms of, if we go to the code, 255-8-50, whether the variance will allow for a change, an undesirable change in the character of the neighborhood. I don't think that it does. I think that whereas it's situated, it has virtually no effect. And whether the benefit to the applicant be achieved by some other more feasible method, I don't believe that is the case either. I think that it's a very reasonable ask, and I think it was a good application. So I'm approving it at this time.
Thank you. For the record, I was not present this evening, but I did review the hearing online and on the record, and the records submitted. Just a point of clarification, I don't think an outdoor shower has to meet double setback. So it's just the hot tub does, yeah. So anyway, I agree with all that was said, and I agree with approving this application.
And they are adding dry wells to
Right.
it, neglected that.
That's
And I now have the names and addresses of the neighbors if you want them, Council.
I have the
Yeah.
letters in the
Yeah.
record. Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
And the dry well was the condition, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Got it.
The next, we have Theodore Weinrib, 35 Montauk Boulevard in Springs. And size and location is, Suffolk tax map number 300-96-2-22.6. The size and location is 14,000 square feet of 35 Montauk Boulevard, Estates of Montauk, map 48 in Springs. The description is to allow 148 square foot shed to remain within side yard lot line setbacks. The relief sought is one variance of approximately 0.8 feet is required from 255-1110 of the town code in order for the shed to remain in place 9.2 feet from the northern side yard lot line where a 10-foot setback is required. Zoning district is B residence, zone X flood zone, and the secret class is type 2. Denise?
Yes, thank you. This hearing was held on June 7th, 2022. The survey being used is December 7th, 2021, prepared by Gary Benz. Mr. Weinrib appeared on behalf of himself at the public hearing. And of course, one variance of 0.8 feet is required from section 255-1110 of the town code in order for the shed to remain in place 9.2 feet from the northern side yard lot line where 10-foot setback is required. A letter was submitted by the applicant stating that the shed was pre-existing prior to the purchase of the home, and he was unaware of the setback issues with the shed until the Friday before the Monday closing date. Mr. Weinrib went on to state that moving the shed would be costly. However, further discussion did point out the fact that it is on blocks. The applicant did not seem to realize that the issue before the board is the fact that the Suffolk County Health Department requires a minimum 5-foot separation to a septic tank and a setback of 10-foot separation to any leach system from any building. This shed literally sits upon the leaching tank and is approximately 2 feet from the northern corner of the septic tank. Mr. Weinrib was amenable to discussing conforming locations, and during Tyler Borsak's presentation, he did suggest a conforming location. Since the shed sits directly upon a leaching tank and is 2 feet from the northern corner of the septic tank, I will be denying this application for a variance. It is not in compliance with 255-1110 of the town code, and as noted by the planning department during the public hearing, there are conforming locations for placement of the shed on the parcel.
Thank you. Terry?
Well, I am in agreement with my fellow board member again, for the reasons, a 0.8 foot variance is typically not an issue, and most times that would get approved. However, the issue with this one being so close and on top of the sanitary system, and the fact that the variance would be existing in perpetuity, I too am looking to deny it. As Member Savarese stated, the planner did say there are other locations that are possible on this property for the shed to be placed, and it is on blocks, so the expense of moving that shed, I don't think would be that great. So I too am going to deny this application.
Thank you. Ed?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm in agreement with my fellow board members. I think that when we're asked to approve a 0.8 foot, 10-inch variance, it would seem a no-brainer that we would all, out of just common sense, approve it. But this is a very interesting circumstance, one we don't normally come up against, and I don't see how we could think about approving it under these circumstances. I will say, though, that what was brought out at the hearing, and I think that for Mr. Weinrib to consider, is that this is not a difficult move because it is on blocks, and I would hope that he would consider that that's an option that he can take. Now, we're going to deny this and he'll have to move it. He mentioned at the hearing, he might decide to just have it demolished. I would just suggest for his benefit that it probably can be saved without a great deal of expense. But that's not for us to decide upon, but I do think in this particular case, I'm certainly sympathetic to his situation. He bought it in place. He did not put it there. Nonetheless, I think given the situation with the septic tank as was described by Member Savarese, I think we have no choice but to deny this application.
Thank you. Again, I was not here that evening, and I did review the hearing and the records. I agree with my fellow board members. This is kind of an unfortunate thing. The owner has kind of two whammies against him. He found out that the shed was not conforming just before his closing, and then the night of this hearing, he found out that it was on top of a septic field. Otherwise, I agree with our members that this would have been approved. It's a very de minimis request, but I do support I do think that it would not be prudent for us as a board to approve it over a septic tank. Council, you good? Next, we have Shahab Khan at 128 Central Avenue in Amagansett, Suffolk, tax map number 300-175-02-27. The size and location is 12,076 square feet at 128 Central Avenue, Hampton Dunes, Lot 96, map number 4694 in Amagansett. The description is to remove an existing shed and gravel area and to construct an approximately 327 square foot two-story addition, upgraded IA system, dry well for an existing outdoor shower generator, and additional temporary clearing within setbacks, the jurisdiction of freshwater wetlands, dune land, and dune vegetation. The relief sought is a natural resources special permit pursuant to 255-420 of the East Hampton Town Code, and 3 variances are required for this application. Variances of 74 feet, 39 feet are required from 255-430 of the Town Code in order to construct a proposed addition 26 feet and generate a 61 feet from freshwater wetlands where 100-foot setbacks are required. 1 variance of 13 feet is required from 255-430 of the Town Code in order to clear 37 feet from the edge of the wetlands where 50-foot setback is required, and any other relief necessary. The zoning district is B residence, 8E flood zone, elevation 10, and the secret class is type 2.
This is mine, Mr. Chairman. Well, before I begin, I just want to make a clarification that came up the night of the hearing, and that is that the variance of 74 feet was reduced to 54 feet based on an error, a judgment error in the measurement, and that was brought up and clarified by the planner, Tyler Borsak, at that time. The board will remember that the hearing for Khan was on June 7th, 2022. The survey was dated from September 22nd, 2021. The parcel is located at 128 Central Avenue in Amagansett. 1 wetland variance has been reduced. Oh, I just told you that. The applicant was represented by Brian Locascio of East End Land Planning. The application included a set of construction drawings from Jeffrey Sands Architects and a project document from Adam Miller Group, PC, and the East End Land Planning that included a detailed construction protocol and several other pertinent documents. The parcel size is 12,076 square feet, and the residence was built in 1967. The parcel has wetlands to the northeast and to the east, and the town of East Hampton owns the land bordering this parcel in both of those directions. At the hearing, it was pointed out by the applicant's representative that the proposed 288 square foot two-story addition was to be constructed over an existing deck, and that while the building coverage will increase from 8.6% to 10.2%, the total lot coverage is reduced slightly from 18.4% to 18.2%, as an attached shed to the north of the house is to be removed. Additionally, it was offered by the applicant as remediation that a 4,710 square foot scenic easement be established on the north and east sides of the parcel, and that a low nitrogen IA sanitary system be installed on the southwest portion of the property. It was also pointed out the proposed addition to the residence would not increase the number of bedrooms, which will remain at 4, and that by removing the shed, the part of the construction on the property that is closest to the wetlands would be removed, and that the proposed project would also not increase the building's footprint. Question of potential flooding related to the project was countered by the offered revegetation plan and the fact that there are no new hardened surfaces associated with the planned work on the parcel. The Planning Department pointed out that all new projects proposed for the developed dune lands in Amagansett should draw careful scrutiny from the ZBA, but that the proposed Con addition represents a modest change in site conditions on the parcel, and that the installation of a modern IA sanitary system represented a significant improvement over the existing septic on the site, and that the placement of an emergency generator on the east side of the property on an already hardened graveled site should have little impact on the environment. The board received 3 letters of support from neighbors at 118, 127, and 134 Central Avenue. So in reference to 255-4-30 and 255-8-50, I find that the issuance of the variances required does not represent an undesirable change to the character of the neighborhood, and that the desired change to the residents cannot be achieved by another less intrusive method. And also that under NRSP standards 255-5-51D, parts 1 and 2, that alternative uses and alternative designs do not exist that would allow for completion of the project as planned, and that under 255-5-40, that a reasonable effort has been made on the part of the applicant to bring the project into compatibility with the environment and to provide environmental protection for the nearby wetlands and the site in general. I found that the effort made by the applicant in terms of the completeness of their presentation and the consideration that was shown limiting the size of the project weighed in favor of my decision to approve this application.
Thank you. Denise?
Yes, I agree with my fellow board member. The proposed addition is where the existing roof overhang and deck currently exist. They're not expanding the footprint, and they're no longer requesting a clearing variance. The proposed improvements of an IA system coupled with a 4,200 square foot scenic easement, along with a planting plan, are actually, in my view, improving the environmental conditions and protecting the natural resources. This small scale addition is also is consistent with the character of the neighborhood. The generator should have minimal impacts on the wetland. It's next to the residence and in one of the most conforming locations available. So for these reasons, I am in favor of granting a natural resource special permit and the variances that are being requested.
Thank you.
Hey, I too am in agreement with my fellow board members. Just a couple of other comments on the planting plan that there's a draft that the planning department had sketched out dated December 7th, 2021. And the comment about the IWA system, this is a mitigation as well as the revegetation and the scenic easement. I think all of those are greatly conforming to allowing the natural resources special permit to be approved. And the IA system is actually going pretty much in the location where the existing sanitary system is. And in the TAM, it did state that, or maybe it was at the hearing, that the planner stated that this will meet the 2-foot groundwater separation where the current one is probably sitting in the groundwater. So that's a huge environmental improvement. I too, everyone mentioned already, the roof overhang and the the additions are already improved. Decking, I just want to point out, like on they tried in the project description on page 4, they do state how they tried to do this without needing to do an addition at all, but they're architecturally, they couldn't make it fit with 4 bedrooms. code compliant. And just to that end, at the end of the project plan, the Jeffrey Sands, the architect, did submit a letter going into a further explanation of that as to why they did end up asking for the two-story addition to achieve their goals. So I too am looking to approve this.
Thank you. Once again, this was the same evening that I was not here, but I did review the records in the hearing. I agree with my fellow board members. I think the mitigation proposed here far outweighs what their request is, and I think is going to improve the environmental conditions. On a lighter note, I think this is the first time we see on the notice where they're requesting a drywall for an existing outdoor shower, but we usually have to request that. So, but I'm pleased to say we would approve this. This is a good application. Council, good? All right, we have in other decisions, we have Clifford Shapiro at 8 Ocean Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-176-3-10, and it's a request to reopen the record to accept submission. Do we have further information on this? How long do they want to?
Basically, it's basically for you to open for is it septic?
Yeah, make it in time.
Didn't make it in time. It was a day late. So my advice is you open it and immediately close it.
Oh, so it's tonight, so we can open it and close it right away. Okay,
Yeah.
fine.
It's one of those things where she meant to put it in the day of, and she missed it by a day. So that was
Okay.
just open and close, nothing that I think we need to reserve for public comment.
Okay.
If the board is so inclined, but I need a
Nope.
motion.
Nope. Whose was this?
I don't know. Oh,
8 Ocean.
8 Ocean.
Amagansett. I'll make
Oh,
it.
no.
It's not mine.
I can make a motion. It's fine.
Yeah, why don't you do
So
that?
therefore, I make a motion of Clifford Shapiro at 8 Ocean Lane in Amagansett, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-176-3-10 to open the public record to accept a submission of a septic design.
Second motion.
And I concur.
I concur.
Yeah.
Thank
What was
you.
the date of that hearing? Do you
Do I have a
remember?
motion to close the
I
record?
will. I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion then to close the public record for the same applicant for accepting that submission.
Second it.
I concur.
I concur.
Thank you.
You know what the hearing date was on that one?
May 24th.
May 20th. Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Yeah,
Oh,
okay.
that's.
Oh, that's right. It was a
Okay.
member.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we then have draft minutes of July 26th.
So I did read the minutes. They look good. I'd like to make a motion to approve the draft minutes of July 26, 2022 for the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
I second.
I concur.
I concur as well. We have one resolution tonight, and that's D&D Cucci LLC at 74 Queens Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk Tax Map number 300-145-5-22.1. Council?
So the board should be familiar with this because we just made the decision last week. And this was the interesting property on Queens Lane where we had the pre-existing residence, but also the commercial use of the property in the CI zone. The board voted unanimously to allow this as a use variance, which is slightly different from the criteria for an area variance. And I distributed this draft last week. No changes, no objections. I asked the board to adopt the resolution as drafted. Determination, excuse me, not resolution.
Right. Therefore, in the case of D&D Cucci LLC, 74 Queens Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-145-05-22.1, I'd like to make a motion to accept the determination as written.
I'll second that.
I concur.
I concur as well. Thank you, board members. Good early evening.
Congrats.
Go first.
Vice Chair, would you like to make a motion to
I
adjourn?
would, Mr. Chairman. Therefore, I'd like to make a motion to close the East Hampton Town Zoning Board of Appeals hearing and work session for August 2nd, 2022 at 7:11.
I'll second that.
I concur.
I concur as well. I think Matt will concur too on that one.
I concur.
Thank you.
Drinks all around.
We didn't beat the A or B, did we?